The drama surrounding Rachel Zegler's meltdown following South Park's brutal parody of the Snow White 2025 disaster marks a watershed moment in pop culture controversy, where satire, studio politics, identity discourse, and celebrity image all collided with catastrophic timing. What began as another glossy Disney remake meant to reintroduce a beloved fairy tale to a modern audience spiraled into one of the most talked-about debacles in recent memory. At the heart of it all stood Zegler, initially hailed as a rising star, now turned into the symbolic center of what critics, fans, and comedians have branded a franchise implosion. Tensions had already been boiling for months before South Park threw gasoline on the fire. From the moment Rachel was announced as Snow White, her casting was polarizing. Disney's choice to reinvent the classic character with a Latina actress brought both applause and confusion. Many welcomed the representation, but a loud contingent pushed back, questioning why a character named Snow White, traditionally tied to European folklore, needed that level of reinvention. What truly lit the match, though, were Zegler's own words. In numerous interviews, she dismissed the 1937 classic as weird, called Prince Charming a stalker, and openly mocked the idea of being rescued by a man. Instead of celebrating her opportunity, she appeared to rebuke it, triggering backlash from fans who saw her as attacking the very role she was being paid to honor. The tension intensified when rumors leaked about friction between Zegler and co-star Gal Gadot. Reports suggested they barely interacted at major press events and that on-set disagreements had led to entire sequences being res-hot or cut. Zegler allegedly complained that Gadot was stealing too much attention with improvised lines, prompting the studio to scale back Gadot's scenes to avoid overshadowing the lead. Internally, Disney executives were reportedly horrified by the spiraling optics. Between the reshoots, canceled promotional appearances, and Zegler's increasingly inflammatory soundbites, the project began to look cursed. To complicate matters further, Disney's PR team started scrubbing Zegler from late-night shows and red carpets, citing scheduling conflicts, but insiders confirmed it was a damage control strategy. Then came the fatal blow, South Park. Known for taking no prisoners, the show aired a now-viral parody skewering the Snow White production, complete with a cartoon Zegler ranting about saving society, berating her co-stars, and proclaiming her remake was a revolutionary act. In typical South Park fashion, the mockery wasn't subtle. Zegler's character was shown steamrolling over anyone who dared question her new vision of Snow White while ignoring pleas from cartoon Disney executives to tone it down. The episode parodied not just Zegler's public statements, but Disney's frantic corporate spin, depicting execs holding emergency meetings as the star spiraled out of control. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler's inner circle leaked that she was furious. Reports claimed she felt blindsided, deeply hurt by the mockery, and wanted to issue a clarifying statement. But Disney allegedly told her to sit tight, fearing more damage. Zegler's cryptic posts online hinted at anger but avoided naming the show directly. Supporters said she was being scapegoated, while critics argued she had brought the storm upon herself. Even neutral fans began to sympathize with Disney execs, who now appeared trapped between an overzealous actress and an unforgiving internet. The backlash didn't just stay digital. Snow White merchandise began disappearing from shelves. A musical showcase at Disney World was scrapped. A rumored Saturday Night Live appearance was abruptly canceled. Insiders whispered that Zegler's contract was under review and that she might even sue for breach if Disney continued limiting her promotional obligations. One source claimed legal threats were being quietly circulated behind closed doors as Zegler felt the studio was hanging her out to dry. South Park's parody had accomplished more than just laughs. It reframed the public narrative. Instead of a bold reimagining, Snow White was now viewed as an ego-driven vanity project gone awry. Zegler became the poster child for Hollywood arrogance, mocked for her interviews, attitude, and perceived lack of reverence. Even legitimate discussions about modernizing classic tales were drowned out by the spectacle. Industry figures noted that once satire enters the conversation, nuance dies. No one wanted to discuss social commentary. They wanted to watch the crash in slow motion. For Zegler, the fallout could be career-altering. While some defended her as a misunderstood artist trying to inject freshness into an aging tale, others saw her behavior as unprofessional. Producers from rival studios began to question whether she could be trusted on future tentpole projects. Her defenders argued that she was a young star navigating massive fame and scrutiny. Her critics insisted she had dug her own grave by alienating fans and mocking the very franchise she was meant to uplift. Even South Park didn't stop at Zegler. The show tore into Disney executives, depicting them as spineless, jargon-spouting fools unable to rein in their own lead actress. The satire hit so close to home that many wondered if it had sources inside Disney's boardroom. Bob Iger, once known for steady leadership, now found himself at the helm of a publicly spiraling ship. The media pounced. Commentators suggested Disney had lost its grip on how to modernize its classics, overcorrecting in some areas and under-delivering in others. The deeper concern was that Snow White had become a symbol of everything critics believed was wrong with modern Disney. Messaging over magic, identity over story, and a reliance on old IP poorly masked by surface-level rebranding. Cultural critics noted that South Park's parody worked not because it was outrageous, but because it rang true. And once that perception sets in, it's hard to reverse. Still, some clung to hope. Maybe the final film, despite all this, would be good. Maybe audiences would connect with the emotional core. Maybe Godot's evil queen would shine. But optimism faded with every new headline. Rumors swirled about another delay. Reports hinted that entire musical numbers had been cut, that scenes had been re-edited to soften Zegler's portrayal, or even elevate Godot's role to distract from controversy. Whatever the reality, one truth remained. Snow White 2025 was no longer just a film, it was a cultural event. And not in the way Disney had hoped. The South Park spoof didn't just lampoon, it solidified. Rachel Zegler would now be remembered, fairly or not, as the star who lost the plot. Disney, the studio that couldn't control its own narrative. And Snow White, the fairy tale that became a headline. In the end, it wasn't any one thing that caused the chaos. It was the combination. An actress too outspoken. A studio too cautious. A co-star too silent, a franchise too iconic to toy with, and a cartoon too sharp to ignore. Whether the movie recovers remains to be seen, but the lesson is already clear. In the age of viral satire and instant judgment, even a princess can't save the kingdom if the crowd's already laughing.